So yeah, let me do a brief introduction of our speakers, and thank you again for connecting. So here we have Giovanna. She is from Mexico. She's a biomedical engineer by the University of British Columbia and the Technological Institute of Monterrey. She worked for 3 years as a management consultant for Bain and is 2 times co-founder of a healthcare venture, Neighbor Health, a company that provides high-quality dental treatments and other healthcare services to international patients, and now Plenna, an online to offline platform that provides unique, affordable, and comprehensive care to women in Mexico. While being a co-founder at Plenna, she's pursuing an MBA at Harvard Business School, where we are classmates. So that's how we know each other. Thank you so much for joining, Gio. Then we have Fernando. He's from Spain, but currently lives in San Diego, California. He's a doctor of pharmacy and a doctor in molecular biology by the Universities of Granada and Murcia, respectively. He has researched at Purdue University, the SIG, University of California, San Diego, and the Scripps Research Institute, where he led the project that isolated the antibody sequence of hybridomas for protein crystallography. And I was very happy to meet him because for a very, very brief period of time, I also studied at UCSD and worked at the Scripps Research Institute. So the world is really, really small. He's now a co-founder and CSO at Navega Therapeutics, which is a preclinical stage company that is pursuing a radically different approach to treat chronic pain and tackle the opioid epidemic. Thank you so much for joining, Fernando. And finally, we have Maria. She's also from Spain, currently in Madrid. She's a biomedical engineer by Carlos III University. So we are the same university, the same major. And I only found that while preparing this session, which is very crazy. And she has worked at the University of Sao Paulo, Medtronic, and Demium startups. She's passionate about entrepreneurship and healthcare, and is currently joining both passions as CEO and co-founder of Tucuvi, a venture that is improving the quality of life of the elderly and their loved ones through AI voice-powered technology. Thank you so much for joining, Maria. So as a reminder for all the participants, you can leave questions on the chat, both public and private to me. We will curate them and then ask them when the time is appropriate. And if you can, put your cameras on to make it a little bit more personal for everyone. And now we can start. I thought that we can start with a quick round of introductions about your companies and their beginnings. What is the problem that you're tackling and what inspired you to start the company? In any particular order, you can unmute and start. Or I can call out. I think Gio wants to talk, she's laughing.
Look, I'll go first. So I can talk about Plenna. It's currently the venture I'm pursuing. We've been working on it for the past 6-7 months. And Plenna started with my co-founder and I. She's also from a Mexican woman. And we felt that the femtech world in Mexico was very delayed. There's a lot of misconception, a lot of taboo, and little access to affordable healthcare services, especially to women. And we felt right now was a really good opportunity to enter the market of femtech, because the purchasing power of women is increasing in the world, and there's a huge wave of women empowerment where people women talk about their rights and are able to learn much more about their bodies, but it hasn't been completely complemented with health. So we've done interviews in Mexico, and we arrived with a value proposition that comes with a strong brand for modern women in Mexico. And our vision for Plenna is to empower these women to live healthy and fulfilling lives.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Maria, do you want to go next?
Yep. Well, nice to meet you all, and thank you for letting me join you. My co-founder and I started Tucuvi 2 years ago, more or less. I'm a medical engineer and he's too. And we started because we saw huge gaps in care of mostly of the elderly population aging at home. mainly because there are not enough healthcare professionals to cover the high demand of attention they need, and also because the technology being developed, like digital health, is not accessible for them. Like at least in Spain, 80 years old people do not use the smartphone for healthcare. So we needed to develop technology to augment the capacity of care of the professionals while ensuring that elderly can use it. So that is why we developed state-of-the-art AI and voice technology, but instead of making them learn to use a smartphone or new devices, we deploy this technology via phone calls so that we can enter every home. And our vision is to make sure that every person have access to the best healthcare at home. So we try to adapt this technology for them while augmenting the capacity of the professionals.
Thank you so much. So we have the women, the elderly, and I think, Fernando, you're also covering a very critical spot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me as well. Very happy to be here. What we are doing at Navega Therapeutics is tackling the opioid epidemic, and everything comes from the knowledge that there are some people that have a mutation in their genome that they don't feel pain whatsoever. This is a known sodium channel. It's kind of a pain gatekeeper. And not feeling pain at all is bad, because you sometimes need pain to figure out that something is wrong with your body, that there's some illness or some wound that you have to take care of. But you can replicate this without creating the mutation. And what we are doing is using a technique that maybe some of you have heard of. It's called CRISPR. CRISPR-Cas9 is an enzyme that goes to the genome and can cut the DNA and edit the genome for some genetic diseases. But what we did is, instead of modifying the genome, we use a dead variant of Cas9. So it's something that only has the GPS function of this Cas9. So you can direct this protein to wherever you want in the genome, and you can prevent the expression of proteins without modifying the genome. So that's what we are doing. That's our way of imitating this loss of function mutation. And that was coming from the PhD work of my co-founder, Ana Moreno, and we were collaborating in a different project, and I saw the opportunity. She wanted to create a company, and I just helped her build a company from the very beginning. We incorporated in 2018, but didn't really start. That was on paper only, so we didn't really start operations until 2019. July 2019.
That's incredible. And I'm curious, you'll have these geniuses ideas, these very passion-driven missions. But I'm curious, when did you know that you had found the business opportunity worth pursuing? And so which one was your eureka moment? And since then, have you had to pivot? And anyone can reply to this. We can always follow the same order. Maybe that's easier.
My last name starts with A, so I've been always used to getting called in alphabetical order. So I'll go. So I think my aha moment was last summer. I was working on the investment thesis for women's health in India, and realized that the Mexican market was very similar to the woman I was talking in India. And I felt very, very strong about the problem, because coming from a conservative society and being part of being a woman in Mexico, it resonated a lot with me. I think how we started thinking about it first was in spotting the biggest pain point in women, and we landed first on pregnancy. And trying to understand what the pain points were and the jobs to be done to them to have a fulfilling pregnancy and integral care. When we started interviewing women, we found out that the problem was way more rooted than that. And most of the problem right now was with younger girls, and the first time they went to a gynecologist. So we had to pivot our branding, pivot our solutions, and understanding that right now, and this is happening right now, that we understand the problem is huge, and we're having users reaching out for help, and with a lot of questions and a lot of misconceptions because of these huge taboos that exist. But younger women are harder to convert. So on the business part of it, it has been a struggle to understand what the correct business model will be for users between 13 and 22 years old. Those are the ones that have been much more attracted to the problem, and making this not even a profitable, but just a monetary model. So that's where we are right now. We started structuring affordable pregnancies and getting the right partnerships with hospitals to bring from our clinics to the hospitals. And now we're pivoting in understanding how can we help at scale, leveraging digital solutions such as chatbots or automated solutions for answering to higher demands of younger women.
Thank you, Gia. I'm curious about your story, Maria. When was your aha moment?
I think we had two aha moments. Like the first one was when we started. We didn't start it with what we have now is a virtual caregiver, which is a voice-based virtual assistant. But we started using wearables. We wanted to like make continuous care a reality at home, and we started with some devices. And then when we tried with the elderly, they didn't want to use it. They didn't know how to use it. The values were not useful for the doctor. So we knew we had to change the channel when we spoke with the final users. So in that moment, we pivoted to voice. And the second aha moment that we had is when we were scared about pivoting to a virtual assistant, because I couldn't imagine, like, for example, my grandmother speaking with a machine, if you think about a machine. But when we started, we make a first pilot of 100 people, over 80 years old, all of them. And they were receiving these calls from a virtual caregiver weekly, on a weekly basis. And when we stopped, they called us, like, I missed, the name of the virtual assistant is Lola. They missed speaking with Lola about the healthcare. They missed a machine. So we thought that we were creating a product for the healthcare professionals to improve the communication, to be more efficient, optimize their time, etc. But we were creating a companion for the elderly, which also helps healthcare professionals. But so we realized that we had to potentiate it, and it made sense, and that's what we are doing now.
That is such a nice story. What a great way to find out which one the best product was. What about you, Fernando? What was it?
Yeah, for me, I don't think I had an aha moment, eureka moment. It was because I was in academia. I was doing my second postdoc, and I love the data that we were getting and the results, but creating a pharma company when you are developing a drug, it's not like it's that easy to pivot and do your minimal viable product, your MVP, and then get some feedback and then modify and make it better. You think about it, I don't think Moderna created a MVP and then, oh, let's try and then pivot to something else. It's like you have to think about what is your drug that is going to the market. And there's not much room there to pivot. And now let's design a different drug. For drug development companies, it's a little bit harder to do that. In any case, the way we pivot is instead of, when we were talking with investors, instead of creating the story that we were tackling chronic pain, we pivot to our first indication to be erythromelalgia. Primary erythromelalgia, those are patients that have the opposite mutation. They have a gain of function mutation. So it's the perfect kind of indication for our drug to make a short and a small clinical trial, because these people have episodic pain because the channel is hyperactivated. And then in theory, it would be cheaper and faster to get approval and then use the same pharmaceutical product to go and tackle chronic pain.